Will you join me in our call to worship? We gather this morning to find joy and comfort in one another, to bear each other's burdens and celebrate the mystery of life. Come, let us worship together.
It is good to be together again. Whether you are joining us here in the sanctuary, remotely via Zoom, or watching this recording later, it is good to connect with you. So good morning, Birmingham Unitarian Church. So we are calling, as a multi-platform church, it is important for us to build a bridge between online and in-person participants. We are calling this connection opportunity Greeting Our Virtual Neighbors. First, we will project the image of folks who are currently on Zoom up here on our screen and ask them to turn on their cameras and give us a wave. All right. Excellent. Okay, so now it's our turn. So we who are gathered in person are going to turn and face that camera in the back and give them a wave. Hi, everybody. Whenever and however we connect with BUC, we are building BUC. At home, on campus, in the world, every day, we are Birmingham Unitarian Church, and we are building the beloved community. Our chalice lighting this morning is by Kimberly Ann Tomchak Carlson. We are a people of memory. As inheritors of our ancestors' legacy, we hold their stories tenderly, gleaning wisdom from diverse journeys, united in hope for the future. Guide us to trust in love as we kindle this flame together. Please stand for our first hymn. Sing
Last year, we spent an entire month on each of our 8 UU principles. It was a great opportunity to explore our Unitarian Universalism, and at the end of the year, I asked for sermon topic suggestions and was pretty surprised to receive a lot of requests to explore the 6 sources of Unitarian Universalism. We're not going to spend an entire month on each of the sources, although we could. Our sources are just as interesting and important as the principles. However, as I dug deeper into those requests to learn about the sources, what I realized is that people actually are craving a deeper understanding of our theology, specifically as it relates to other religious traditions, like Judaism. Today is the first day of Rosh Hashanah. That's why we sing this song. So we'll revisit that specific source, the third source, later on this year a lot, but today we are going to start with a very quick overview of our 6 sources.
Good morning. I have 2 small candles because I'm grateful for our 4th principle, the free and responsible search for truth and meaning. One version of this principle that is easy to remember is to say that we search for what is true. Freedom and responsibility are 2 big thoughts. Let's talk first about freedom. What does freedom mean in our religion? If you have any ideas, feel free to raise your hand.
Peace, love, and video games.
Absolutely. What else? Any other ideas? What about from our adults? Any thoughts? What does freedom mean to you? What about responsibility? Yeah.
I worked sometimes with the 8th graders, and when they first start their credo statements, they are, well, I can believe anything I want, but not really. You can't be a religious bigot or any of those bad things, so that's where the responsibility comes in.
Excellent. Any other thoughts? Well, let's keep thinking about that. So, our Unitarian and Universalist histories are full of people who helped us to understand that our search for the truth and our job as meaning makers happens with freedom and responsibility. So I'm going to light this first candle, and that's in thanks for our religious freedom. If it will light. Great. And I'm going to light this second candle too. Actually, you know what? I'm feeling kind of hungry, so I'm just going to take a bite. What? Does anyone want to talk about what just happened? I think I will. So good, so fresh. So really, what do you think? What's happening here? What am I actually doing? Yeah, what did I just do?
You put apple in the candle and then you're eating the apple.
Ooh, very good. Right? Yeah, you might have heard that nice little crunch to it. So yeah, raise your hand initially if you thought that I had 2 wax candles. All right. Raise your hand again if you thought I actually ate a wax candle. So, one thing I love about being a Unitarian Universalist is that we get to form our own beliefs and decide what's true for us. That is the free part of our search for truth and meaning. Another thing I love about being a Unitarian Universalist is that even when you think you believe something, we get to question it and even change our mind. A lot of you assumed I was holding 2 candles, and that was the reasonable assumption. Of course, that is until I ate one. So then you had to question that belief. And maybe someone even guessed that I ate a fake candle. And very close, it's actually made of jicama. So it kind of tastes a little bit sweet like an apple, and it had that crunch. So again, that is the responsible part of our search for what is true. Unitarian Universalists try to keep an open mind and allow new information to reshape what we believe is true. So as you go out into this week and learn new things, you might want to pause and ask yourself, is this really true? How do I know? If you do, you can also offer gratitude that this is what you do in church too.
Here we are. Our church has a long and storied history providing excellent religious education, just like that, for children and youth. That's fun and engaging and experiential. Also, I don't know if everybody heard, but Marilyn said she wants to teach 8th grade again. Write that down. I heard it. These past several years have been harder than hard, incredibly challenging for our religious education program, for our young people, for their parents. Being a kid in these times is no easy task at all. And having trusted adults to help them unpack their everyday experiences is unspeakably important. I'd like for everyone in the sanctuary who has taught a class, who has served on the RE Council, or volunteered for an RE event to please stand or raise your hand as you're willing and able. There you are. Sorry, it does say Shannon next. That's you. Go ahead.
We are at the start of a new year with new opportunities and new challenges. Our programming starts with our toddler room, where children ages 2 to 5 can gather to play during the worship service. The classes for elementary-aged kids allow them to choose from a variety of activities related to BUC's monthly worship theme. Our 6th and 7th graders are still using the Building Bridges curriculum to explore world religions and spiritual practices, which supports them in the coming of age as 8th graders. We are also offering 2 OWL classes this year, one for 8th and 9th graders, and a separate class for 10th and 11th graders. OWL, short for Our Whole Lives, is a comprehensive sexuality education program that provides accurate, developmentally appropriate information about a range of topics. And of course, we still have Goosh, our youth-led and adult-guided youth group for high schoolers. As a reminder, in 2021, Goosh adopted the 8th principle and led the entire congregation to adopt that 8th principle in 2022.
That's right.
We have a lot going on, and that takes a lot of support. So everyone who has volunteered to teach, serve on the RE Council, support special events, please stand and raise a hand. Again, please be recognized. And we know that there are many who have volunteered who aren't here this morning or have joined by Zoom. Thank you to all of you for your labor and your dedication. RE programs rely on volunteers at every level. Thank you for keeping this time-honored tradition alive in our congregation.
The ultimate source of authority in Unitarian Universalism is the individual congregation. It is you, the people, who make BUC and have decision-making power here. We have come to commission these teachers today, and so I ask you, the members and friends of Birmingham Unitarian Church, do you commission these among you who have volunteered with the solemn and joyful duty to provide religious education to our children and our youth? If so, please say we do. We do. Teachers, I add to this commissioning my blessing and my heartfelt and sincere gratitude for your good works in our congregation. Thank you.
At this time, all of our students are going to join their teachers at the back of the sanctuary and then head off to their classrooms.
The mission of Birmingham Unitarian Church is to be a free and welcoming religious community that encourages lives of integrity, learning, service, and joy. One way we live out this mission is by giving half of our weekly offering to a nonprofit organization that shares our values and addresses needs in one of these areas: environmental action, income inequality, civic engagement, and racial justice. We support a new organization each month. This month's recipient is the Walt Whitman School Program, one of BUC's cherished long-term projects. We foster learning for K-5 students by stocking and operating a mobile library in Walt Whitman Elementary School in Pontiac. We also organize tutoring and other programs that help students learn and feel supported by their community. Your offering will be used to buy books for the library and supplies for the program. Let there be an offering in support of our beloved community and organizations that build the world we dream about. Offerings can be given via cash or checks, by mail by using Venmo, or online at bucmi.org. This morning's offering will now be received with gratitude. We are a church of open minds, loving hearts, and helping hands. With gratitude, we dedicate this offering to the good works of our congregation, and we dedicate ourselves to its service.
We come now to the time in our service set aside for prayer, meditation, and centering. We begin with the sharing of joys and sorrows from our congregation. First, we have a joy that was left anonymously, but I'll go ahead and read it because it says Sarah Phillips is about to turn 16 on the 27th. I think we know who that was. Happy birthday, Sarah. This morning, also, we share in a sorrow with James Dankovich. James shares sorrow for my mom's passing and also joy that she was with us 96 years and was a wonderful mom and a person loved by all who knew her. And we know there are always joys and sorrows that remain on our hearts that we're not ready to share yet. On the fourth Sunday of the month, it is our practice to light candles in memory of those who have gone before us. I'll begin by lighting a candle from our chalice. That candle will also serve for those of you who are joining us on Zoom. Then, as you're so moved, I invite you to come forward using the side aisle here to light your own candle in memory of your beloved dead, or perhaps for a concern on your heart, and then return to your seat in this way. A gentle reminder to please try to place your candles towards the back of the bowl. We gather in this community to share through all of the joys and the sorrows of life. We are not bound by a mutual belief. We are bound by mutual concern. We are bound by love for each other. We have decided to be together because we find that there is joy and value in those connections. In a time when the world seems so easily overwhelmed with sorrows, let us hold fast to one another for comfort and for hope. Let us be a source of strength for each other. May we always find our way back into covenants when they are broken. May we remember that love is our doctrine. May it be so. Amen. And blessed be. So today, we are exploring those 6 sources, and instead of having a clever reading, because there's only one that exists about the sources, and Tom found it first, I'm going to just tell you what the sources are, and that'll set you up. All right. Source 1. Direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder affirmed in all cultures, which moves us to a renewal of the spirit. Okay, so they're trying to say God. But also the thing that just happened here that we all felt, which may or may not be God. Maybe we understand that to be something else, but there's a something, and that, first source. Second source, words and deeds of prophetic people which challenge us to confront powers and structures of evil with justice, compassion, and the transforming power of love. Source number 3, wisdom from the world's religions, which inspires us in our ethical and spiritual life. Source number 4, specifically Jewish and Christian teachings, which call us to respond to God's love by loving our neighbors as ourselves. Also, number 5, humanist teachings, which counsel us to heed the guidance of reason and the results of science and warn us against idolatries of the mind and spirit. And finally, spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions which celebrate the sacred circle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature.
Sources, a Unitarian Universalist cantata, is a 7-movement choral piece. It was composed by Reverend Jason Shelton in 2006 in collaboration with Reverend Dr. Kendall Gibbons, who wrote the lyrics. The idea for the cantata was born out of the composer's shared conviction that the sources should have a more prominent place within Unitarian Universalism. I share that conviction, but that's me. In an interview about the cantata published in UU World magazine, Reverend Jason Shelton said, quote, "We have this marvelous statement about theological diversity in the sources, but it largely gets ignored. Most of our folks can talk about the principles in glowing terms, but they're a statement of covenant among congregations and how we will be in the world. The statement about what we believe is a statement about diversity, and that's the sources. There are differences between us that are real and substantive, and if we let them, they could tear us apart. If we don't engage with what it means to be Christian in a UU setting or humanist in a pluralist setting, then we are lacking the tools to be in community with one another. Instead of watering everything down to the theological least common denominator, we need to be in integrity with each of our sources, not watering down Christianity so the humanist feels comfortable with it, or watering down humanism so the pagans feel comfortable with it. Sometimes there will be things that express your theology that make me feel uncomfortable, but I will grow spiritually by being in community with you who sees things differently." End quote. The second movement of the cantata, titled Transformation, focuses on the second source of Unitarian Universalism. It begins with a lament for the pain and sorrow of our imperfect world, and it ends with a call to heed the words and deeds of prophetic women and men which challenge us to confront powers and structures of evil with justice, compassion, and the transforming power of love. The lyrics read, "When all that you see is children starving, poisoned forest, and cities burning, and their eyes, haunted eyes, empty eyes. When all that you know is pain and hunger, fear and hiding, and ancient hatred, and lies, shining lies, lethal lies, something dies, honor dies, innocence dies. If all you can do is light a candle, tell a story, or keep a promise, just this day, one more every day, keep us strong in the struggle, bearing witness, seeking freedom, creating justice, find a way, build a way, make some way. This we pray, humbly pray, urgently pray." In the memory of sacrifice and enduring hope, liberation. In the dignity and worth of every soul, our salvation. In the power of love and the human spirit, transformation. We can change the world. Clouds of witness surround us, honored prophets, faithful workers, daring leaders. Speak the truth, heal the world, light the dawn. And we journey together in the struggle, make connection, find forgiveness through the work, through the pain, moving on. We must build for the future peace and plenty, truth and justice, hope and freedom, not oppress, not destroy. Righteousness shines like a golden city, a mighty river, bringing hope, bringing peace, bringing forth joy.
Well, do you guys remember last year when all the services were short and I said one day I was going to reclaim that time? I'll do my best, but it's a lot to talk about. Today is Unitarian Universalism 101 Day with a lot of information. Yeah, there you go. Somebody reminded me last week that September is always UU 101 month, so we're going to just really push into that today. Also, I took down the no drinks in the sanctuary sign last year. I hope you noticed, and I hope you brought some coffee, because we are just going to hit it, if not next time. All right. Unitarian Universalism is a non-creedal, non-doctrinal religion, or if that scares you, religious tradition. Non-creedal means that we do not have a creed. There is no statement of belief or statement of faith that UUs are required to accept. Non-doctrinal means we do not have doctrines that are universally upheld. Doctrine is a church ruling on a specific theological matter. Taken together, this means we are not beholden to a specific set of beliefs created by another person or an authoritative body. That's up to us to create for ourselves. And yet, we are held by a covenant which describes how we will behave. In our church, we have a congregational covenant, and all UUs are bound by 8 principles. The 4th principle calls us to the free and responsible search for truth and meaning. From this, we can deduce that although we are not required to accept a set of beliefs, there is a requirement that we engage with belief, that we develop our own theologies. That 4th principle, search for truth and meaning, is supported by the 6 sources of Unitarian Universalism. So we're supposed to go out and do free and responsible, and then we use these 6 sources to do that. The sources of the principles can be called the roots and the branches of Unitarian Universalism. Roots and branches, there's a song, we'll do that later. I'll tell Shannon. Shannon will do that with you later. The principles are the outward sign of our religion, of the thing everybody can see, the branches. They're sturdy, and they support the fruit of our work, both personal and our labor in the world. When there is no fruit on the branches, we know there is a problem. So in the case of that 4th principle branch, we are free to explore all theologies and atheologies. We rule them out when they run contrary to our covenantal agreements. That's how we know that hateful theologies do not have a home in Unitarian Universalism, or Shannon called it religious bigotry or theological bigotry. They do not produce fruit. Our sources, the roots in the metaphor, provide us with the nutrients that we need, and they ground us in space and time. They tell us about UU history, how we relate to the ground that we're in, and they hold us firm during challenges and changes, individually and also as an association, because things change. And our roots and our sources, the vehicles through which we draw nutrients and know when we're unsteady. These are the basic elements of our individual theologies. Okay, so first source. I don't think I've ever read this fully, okay? Direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder affirmed in all cultures, which moves us to a renewal of the spirit and an openness to the forces which create and uphold life. Okay, so I do often joke that you can always tell when UU is trying not to say God because they say 20 words instead of just the one. And I think it's possible that this source is trying to gingerly say God in a traditional sense. But more than that, I think this is an attempt to liberate the idea of God from what is taught in many other churches as a personified deity with a specific personality and history. What this source is about is that shared understanding is that there is something that compels humanity to keep trying even though we have usually failed spectacularly. There is a something that gives us hope and strength to keep trying when the human project falls short of our expectations, when everything seems to be garbage and it would just be understandable to say, fine, humanity is bad, there's no purpose to this, let's stop trying. Something pulls us forward and gives us hope for another day. Something unites us as a species that is interested in the furthering of that species. And for some, that is very clearly a higher power that we rely on to move us beyond our limitations. For some, it is the collective human spirit that we generate together. It could be a bit of both. It could be something else. Whatever we understand that to be, the thing that makes us want to do and be better, that's something that makes us believe in the human project and makes us believe that we are not limited by the constraints of our history, that is the first source of Unitarian Universalism. Second source. Words and deeds of prophetic people which challenge us to confront powers and structures of evil with justice, compassion, and the transforming power of love. And that's what Tom expanded on. For me, the second source is an affirmation that my deeply held desire to want to tear everything down was kindled in the bellies of humans long before my time. I come from a long line of rabble-rousers and heretics who would not tolerate human schemes of power and oppression being overlaid on top of religion. And I speak here of myself because we all have individual theologies, and sometimes that's the best I can do. Our churches are pockets of resistance against the forces of this world that tell us that some people are more deserving and they should have it easier, they should be healthier, they should be happier, they should have better lives, right? We're the opposition to that. An example of how the words of a prophetic person challenge me to confront powers and structures of evil is a quote I actually just recently learned. You have to act as if it were possible to radically transform the world, and you have to do it all the time. Anybody know who said that? Angela Davis. Yeah, that was Angela Davis. Yeah. Other examples of such prophets that inform my Unitarian Universalism include Bell Hooks, Bayard Rustin, Polly Murray, Julia Butterfly Hill, Buffy Sainte-Marie, and those are people who were alive during my lifetime. There were people before that. And so I wonder, who comes to mind that informs your Unitarian Universalism with their prophetic words of justice and love? Adrienne Marie Brown. Who else? Everybody just got quiet because Sarah said something. Sarah. No, but think about it. There are people who inspire us to do better through acts of love. It's okay to say MLK. That's like the give me, right? That's okay. That's true. It's okay if it's true. These lovers of life, they are a source of our living tradition. We draw from their words and their actions the way that we might draw from a sacred text because their lives are a sacred text. Any life that is dedicated to service is a sacred text and can be used to inform our Unitarian Universalism. Our third source is the more traditionally recognized sacred texts. Wisdom from the world's religions which inspire us in our ethical and spiritual life. Humans have been trying to answer the same questions from the beginning of time. As our hymn goes, where did we come from? What are we? Where are we going? There is nothing wrong with taking from someone else's intellectual traditions and their spiritual traditions when we are thoughtful about how we do that. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel. People have been at this a long time. They've probably learned a few things that we can learn from too, right? Again, that tricky part is someone else's intellectual and cultural property and using that without colonizing it for itself. So we're going to spend a lot of time on that this year in a way that's fun and approachable, but we are going to be talking about it. All of the world's religions are appropriate for us to draw from. And we have a special connection with Judaism and Christianity. The Unitarians and the Universalists were both radically liberal Christian denominations. Unitarian Universalism is not a Christian denomination, but we are not devoid of Christian influence. Unitarian Universalists do well to learn about Christianity and Judaism because we are their direct descendants. We are not beholden to Christian doctrines, but to move through the world without knowledge of our theological history is dangerous. No one wants to repeat the mistakes of their parents, but we do hope to learn from them. The fourth source of our faith is Jewish and Christian teachings that call us to respond to God's love by loving our neighbors as ourselves. The greatest lesson that we can learn from the Judeo-Christian tradition is love of neighbor. Let it not be forgotten that somebody once asked Jesus, "And who is my neighbor?" in the Gospel according to Luke, and he told a parable. And in that story, a Jewish man had been beaten and robbed, but was nursed back to health from the very brink of death due to the kindness of a man from a hated ethnic minority, a Samaritan. And from this, we learned that we must love the ones that we want to love the least as much as we love ourselves. We must want for them the same care and concern that we would want for ourselves. Our fifth source. Humanist teachings which counsel us to heed the guidance of reason and the results of science and warn us against idolatries of the mind and spirit. I love this wording so much. This might actually be my favorite one. Modern humanism became an important voice in the world's religious landscape in the mid-20th century, around the time of the merger of the Unitarians and the Universalists. There are many flavors of humanism, but at its core, humanism is the belief that theological concerns begin and end in the human experience, the earthly plane. It is not automatically a rejection of the concept of God, but rather a belief that it doesn't matter if there's a God. We should be decent to each other because it is the right thing to do, rather than because we seek to avoid punishment or earn a reward. It is the conclusion to support the conditions that allow humanity to thrive, and the belief that all human achievement was made by humans, and therefore humanity should get the credit. And that is true of our failures as well. But like all other religious traditions, humanism has its limitations. The authors of our 6 sources have chosen to highlight the best, most unassailable, most generative aspects of each of these traditions that are highlighted in the sources. Wisdom, world religions, loving people who aren't like us from Judeo-Christianity, and in the case of humanism, reason and doubt. Doubt used as a winnowing tool for truth. Never being willing to accept ideas without a certain level of scrutiny. And what I love about this is that means that we even have to doubt our doubt, right? If you're quick to just reject things out of hand, why? Could there be some benefit in trying on an idea before dismissing it and not engaging in an idolatry of the mind? I think the source calls us to consider pulling from ideas and traditions of which we might be a little suspicious, and to bear that suspicion throughout. Finally, our 6th source, which is also the most recently added, spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions which celebrate the sacred circle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature. Along with our 7th principle, this source was added in the late 1980s in the most recent overhaul of our sources and principles. This was an acknowledgement of the rising number of UUs who embrace neo-pagan beliefs and spiritual practice. And the term neo-pagan includes Wicca, Neo-Druidism, other indigenous spiritual practices that are often lumped together under the title of New Age. Anything that's based on the seasons and cycles of the natural world. And observing practices that bring our bodies into alignment with the earth is beautiful and deeply instructive. And as those natural cycles are increasingly disturbed, this source has also been used as a platform for theologies and practices that center on climate action. We are not living in harmony with our earth. We need theological messages that remind us that we should, and that spur us to action and provide care and hope. That is the most urgent use of the 6th source. Okay, so now we're going to pass out the quizzes, and I'm going to give you, I know it's a lot of information. I really don't want to spend, one a week. Didn't seem right. So it's just like, here's this huge flyover, and then we're going to dive in a little more one at a time over the course of the year, especially on that 3rd one. But here's what's important. Here's the too long, don't read today. Unitarian Universalism is not a set of standardized beliefs. My Unitarian Universalism is not the same as another person's. And it doesn't mean that they are entirely dissimilar or that there is no center that holds us. It is not a theological free-for-all. We are asked to create a belief system that meets the highest standards of our 8 principles while drawing from these 6 sources. That's equal parts hard and beautiful. It's my job as your minister to give you ideas and pointers on how to do that. It's my job to keep reminding you to do it. It's my job to encourage you, but it's your job to remind me, to encourage me, and to remind each other, and to encourage each other. And when somebody eats a candle, you need to get involved in that. Right? There is no one true version of Unitarian Universalism. That's idolatry. That's exactly what we're going against here. There are times when something, however, is clearly jicama and not a candle, and it is all of our job to say it when that comes up, right? We make Unitarian Universalism together, working in integrity with our covenants and our sources, helping each other down our individual paths. This is a faith that is demanding, but it's also rewarding. And I hope that it comes with some fun and some joy in the development of deep community as we wrestle these things together. May it be so. Amen, and blessed be.
Stand as you're willing and able. We'll join in singing our last hymn today.
Go now into this world as a beacon of hope and joy. Go in love, go in peace. Now that our service has ended, now that our worship has ended, our service begins. May it be so. Amen, and blessed be.